Hi friends, I just completed 30 paintings in 30 days, and now I'm here to show you how it went, what I learned, and what I'm up to now. I hope you enjoy. My game plan for this still life is to mainly focus on this golden clock. I'm gonna keep the carnation kind of unimportant. I do want to develop it quite a bit, but I don't want it to take away too much from the focal points. Okay, so let's talk about the Strada challenge. Fair warning, this is going to be a chatty video, so I hope you're feeling super cozy or you're getting your errands done, your chores around the house, and you have me listening in the background because it's going to be a chatty one. But yes, 30 days and 30 paintings, all painted from life. That was the challenge. It's a challenge I've been eyeing down for the last 2 or 3 years maybe, but it's always felt so intimidating, so I always just didn't go for it. If you follow me on Instagram, you already know this part of the challenge, but you have to post the painting that you did for the day on Instagram. And I think that part was a little nerve-wracking because we all have bad days where the painting just doesn't come out, and the idea of having to post a bad painting would freak me out. But I think this was a good thing to experience because I realized that I was just overthinking. I was too in my head about how I was painting and what I was going to post. I ended up just receiving so much support from you guys and encouragement of being in this challenge and posting every day that I just felt excited to be doing this, and I didn't overthink too much about what my painting looked like if I wasn't entirely proud of it. To ease my nerves, I even made a huge plan before the challenge. I wrote down a list of different still lives, and I even took inspiration from other artists to give me ideas throughout the month because I was so afraid that I just wouldn't know what I was going to paint. But guys, after the first day, I totally went against my plan, and every single day was pure intuition. I really enjoyed that I let that happen though, because sometimes I was really trying to focus on a certain color or a certain composition, and sometimes even just a simple object was my main focus for the day. And so I let that guide me and build my still life around that. And I found that to be so fun and exciting until I had my days where I didn't feel like painting and I didn't know what to do, and I would feel so stuck. Of course, I had those days that I did not want to paint, primarily just dealing with my own thoughts of comparing myself to other people or having certain expectations for myself that would stop me from painting, to the point that I would take myself up until 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. to finally start a painting. It never had to deal with feeling burnt out, and that's what was very surprising to me, that I kept letting my own thoughts stop me from painting because I had these certain expectations. This is a common theme that has come and gone throughout my entire painting journey, so it makes sense that it resurfaced in this pretty difficult challenge of painting every single day for 30 days. But I just wanted to share that because I think it's something a lot of us happen to think about at some point, because we're creating and putting our hearts into something and really looking deeply within ourselves. A lot of things resurface. Sometimes these thoughts can be hard to deal with, but I'm here to tell you that if you are having these thoughts, you're not the only one. Me and a lot of my artist friends have the same thoughts. So this is your reminder to pick yourself up if you're feeling down about what you think your painting is going to end up like, and to just get up and paint, because we all came to painting in the beginning because it was fun. To me, it reminds me of what it's like to play and be a kid again, and I love that. And that was a much simpler time, so if I don't overthink things, everything becomes fun again. So I know I haven't really talked about the actual paintings this whole time, but that's because I'll talk about them in a little bit. I also go over a mini Q&A at the end of the video, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But this right here was already day 25. That just shows you how little I filmed, to be honest. I was just so focused on getting certain paintings done that my wonderful husband was the one who would film for me. And of course, my baby girls, always so curious about every single still life I put up, and I naturally let them explore. I just finished cutting all of this gator foam so that I can mount the paintings. And wow, my muscles hurt. I use this to not cut the floor. I use an actual 5x7 to measure the cut. And then after I cut it, I place it into a frame to make sure it fits perfectly. And I use this blade, just a random blade I found on Amazon. These are all the panels. So now, all these paintings, well, this is a panel, we can ignore that. All these paintings will have a home. Hi guys, we reached the end of the Strada challenge and I'm so happy to be here to talk to you, to share my thoughts, to share everything about this long month of painting. I'm so happy. Feel a little bit weird though that I'm talking in front of the camera. I did not do a good job at filming. Shocker. We have 30 paintings. If you missed my last video or if you don't follow me on Instagram, basically I painted for 30 days straight from life. I wanted to go through some of these paintings. About half of them are going to be added to my shop. So let's talk about some of these paintings. This one right here, I remember, was the first painting that I decided to do a limited palette. So this was transparent red oxide and ultramarine. I have a post where I talk about this. It might have been transparent red oxide and viridian. I then added just a little bit of cad yellow to really bring up the brightness of the pears. But aside from that, it was just those two colors that I created this whole painting with. And I found that to be so enjoyable. I wasn't struggling about what colors I was going to use to mix a certain color because I only had 2-3 colors. I continued the limited palette, but this was the first one where I started to do that. Just a reminder, if you're struggling with color, limit your palette and it will get a lot easier from there. This little guy was one of my favorites, but also one of the hardest ones to paint because, well, it was mainly the drawing that was really hard. Okay, so here's this cute little angel we found at the thrift store. So if you see, he's kind of tilting forward. I felt that that was such a hard angle to capture, but I was so determined. I ended up painting it twice, but I think the second time was the best one. And so this is how it came out. I was really happy with it. I really like the colors and the vibe of this painting. The number one takeaway that I had from this painting was to really practice your horizontals and your verticals. It's probably one of the most important things that you can do in drawing, and it's my least practiced habit, unfortunately. But with this painting, I made a very conscious effort to do that, and I felt like it helped so much. If you guys don't know what that is, basically when you're looking at your subject, you're just going to take a point of it, make a vertical, and see if we make a vertical at the edge of the crown and go straight down, we can see at what point maybe the edge of the knee is at the same point. Same with the horizontals, and you can do vertical lines, plumb lines with your brush if you're painting from life to just make sure you're keeping the drawing pretty accurate. That was something that I learned. What's funny is a lot of the things that I say that I'm learning, I already knew. I think I just go deeper into my practice with these things, so they kind of resurface as new reminders. I also painted a very, very simple sketch of these mandarins. I love that it looks simple but reads correctly. I really see this as a really good sketch and beginning point. So yeah, those are the mandarins. So we got these pumpkins and silver jar thing. Really enjoyed painting these pumpkins. Actually, that was the second time I painted them. Let me see if I can show you my first attempt. I realized that the contrast was very hard and I felt like it was making the pumpkins look a little too defined, I think is the word I'm looking for. So when I went ahead and painted these pumpkins, I made the effort to make sure I wasn't going too deep in my shadows, and I felt like it still reads just as well, but it's not in your face. This one right here, I believe was the third day of the challenge. I really just put a lot of my focus into the clock, and I added this little leaf at the bottom to kind of help the composition feel a little bit more complete. But yeah, there is the golden angel clock painting. This one was a lot of people's favorites on Instagram. It was really hard to get the colors correctly because the shadows are kind of dull and neutral, but you want to bring in color to the painting. Most of these pinks, I used permanent rose, which I love. I will find any excuse to use permanent rose. This one is one of my absolute favorites. I just love the colors. I love how this pastel green complements the red and the plums. This is one of my favorites. If you grab this one, it goes to you with a lot of love because I really like it. I found this at the thrift store the same day I found the little angel, and I have been wanting to incorporate birds into still lifes so badly. So I painted this little chickadee. I think it's just adorable. I love the idea of birds in a still life. They bring so much life to the painting. I kept it pretty simple, just the bird with a lot of greenery to make it feel like it's a little bit in nature. This one was day one. What I really enjoyed about this one is the reflections of the mandarins in the little metallic jar there. This one I just mounted to the panel yesterday, so I still have to trim the edges, but this one was a lot of people's favorites also. It's just a little horse carousel I can show you guys. You guessed it, I found it at the thrift store, same day. Just so cute and dreamy, really reminds me of what it's like to be a kid. I had such a good time with this one. I really like the colors, it feels so playful. And then honestly, these are just a bunch of paintings that I feel a bit about. Either the composition wasn't fully thought out, or I remember feeling rushed or tired. I just always want to make sure that I put something on my shop that I feel good about. On Instagram, I'd mentioned I do a little Q&A for this YouTube video, so I wanted to go ahead and do that. How do you stay motivated to show up to your canvas every day? In general, I'm not motivated every single day. I definitely need my breaks. I can't think about painting day and night and every day. I definitely need moments where I'm thinking about other things. What made the challenge difficult was the fact that I had to paint every single day. The one thing that would make me get up and paint was when I would tell myself, all right, well, if you don't paint, then you fail the challenge. And that was enough to say, oh no, I'm not failing this challenge. I'm going to complete it. And so I'd get up and paint. How do you look back on your Italy painting course last year? Curious what it brought you. So last year I went to a workshop retreat with Jimena, and I learned so much, but I think the one thing that I took from that workshop that really helped me is to use a variety of brushes. I kept trying to find a certain effect in my work and I wasn't able to get it. So at the time I had this brush. I only had this brush in different sizes. That's all I had. Until I realized that having different brushes for different things can make your life way easier. And so this was one of my favorites that she kind of introduced to me, and this is the Eclipse Longcomber. Both of these are from Rosemary & Co. This brush is much softer and a lot thinner, so you can really manipulate the paint in such a beautiful way when the ivories would maybe pick up the paint towards the end if you're not using enough paint. So that was my biggest takeaway, and I think that when I started to incorporate these different brushes in my work, I saw an immediate difference. What is your color palette? I love how much color your paintings have. Thank you. Right now, my color palette currently is limited, so that was one of the things I kind of figured out in this last month. Right now, my palette would look something like a cad red, an alizarin, an ultramarine, a cad yellow, transparent yellow, transparent red, and white. I think that's exactly what I would use. Maybe Viridian as well. Those are my favorite colors that I've been using and really enjoying. I think limiting your palette is just key if you're feeling overwhelmed with color. What are some things you've learned this past year? Oh man, that's a good one. Some things I learned this past year is, one, limit your palette. I've already talked about it enough. Another one is to take your time. think I've spent a lot of years trying to paint fast because I want to paint loose, but that's not necessarily the right answer. To paint loose, you don't have to paint fast, and that was a big one for me. So I've slowed down a lot, and I have stopped judging myself for taking more than 3 hours on a painting. Okay, so we'll close out with this last one. Do you use any mediums? If so, which ones? I don't really. Sometimes I will use a bit of Gamsol in the beginning just to tone the canvas with a wash. After that, I don't use Gamsol, and I don't use walnut oil anymore as much as I used to. Sometimes if the paint is not fresh on my palette, if the paint has been sitting out for 2 days and I go in with painting, I then find myself reaching for a little bit of walnut oil, but that's just because the paint has dried up a bit. Outside of that, I don't. I have experimented a little bit with the Gamblant solvent-free gel, but every time I put it on my palette, I don't really grab it. So those would be the 3 things that I use, if any, but like I mentioned, very rare occasions and not a lot. So no, not really. That wraps up this video. Make sure to sign up to the newsletter so you are the first ones to find out once my shop is updated, and I'll have a nice list there of the ones that I am going to add. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for being here with me, and I'll see you here very soon.